Good day everyone, I'm Momshi Roxanne and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, our topics are writing the lead and writing the news story. Two of the most important things that we have to learn in campus journalism are writing the lead and writing the news story. In the first part of this video, we will be discussing the importance of the lead and the kinds of lead. And in the last part of this video, I'll be teaching you the elements and structure of news story. Every news story begins with an introduction called the lead. Now let's discuss the kinds of lead. Let's start off with conventional or summary lead. This kind of lead used in straight news answers right away all or any of the 5 W's and or the H. Who lead? It is used when the person involved is more prominent than what he does or what happens to him. As in this example in the article, Pasok National Press Shot Dead in Cagayan de Oro. Dr. Ricardo Ricratoras, National President of the Philippine Association of State Universities and Colleges, or PASOK, and at the same time President of the University of Science and Technology of Southern Philippines, or USTSP, was reportedly killed in an ambush in Cagayan de Oro Saturday morning, December 2, 2017. What lead? It is used when the event or what took place is more important than the person involved in the story. As in this example, the mass induction ceremony of newly elected SSC officers and other school organization officers of Isabela State University Jones Campus was held at the Jones Municipal Sports Complex on October 6, 2017. Where lead? It is used when the place is unique and no prominent person is involved. For example, the Philippines will be the site of the next Miss Universe pageant. When lead? It is rarely used as the reader presumes the story to be timely. However, this lead is useful when speaking of deadlines, holidays, and important dates. Example: today, almost to the hour, the revolutionary government was proclaimed by former President Joseph Estrada. Why lead? It is used when the reason is more prominent or unique than what happens. For example, because of poverty, around 100 students dropped out from school last year. This was learned from PNU President Nilo L. Rosas. How lead? It is used when the manner, mode, means, or method of achieving the story is the unnatural way. By appealing to the school board, the Manila Science High School was able to construct a 3-story concrete building. It's time to discuss the grammatical beginning lead. There are times when the lead is introduced by a kind of grammatical form, which is usually a phrase or a clause used to emphasize a feature. Here, the important W's are found in the main clause, not in the introductory or subordinate clause, which is just a modifying feature. These are examples of grammatical beginning leads. Prepositional phrase lead. The phrase is introduced by a preposition. With brooms and other cleaning equipment, the Sangguniang Kabataan of Jones led the riverbank cleanup drive along Cagayan River on July 5, 2021. Infinitive phrase lead. It begins with the sign of the infinitive to plus the main verb. To disseminate relevant information, services, and technology that will contribute to the transformation into empowered, progressive, and self-reliant partner communities, Isabel State University Jones has launched extension and training services spearheaded by the Extension Coordinator Crispin D. Bangloy on October 13 at Barangay Usol, Jones, Isabela. Participial phrase lead. It is introduced by the present or past participle form of the verb. Example: hoping to cop first place, the PNU wood pushers honed up for the chess championship games. Present participle. Dressed like priests, robbers were able to enter the bank. Past participle. Gerundial phrase lead. It is introduced by a gerund, a verbal noun ending in ing. Winning the Development Communication Trophy during the National Press Conference was Arroyo High School's best achievement of the year. Clause lead. The lead begins with a clause which may either be independent or subordinate, or may either be a noun or an adjectival or adverbial clause. Example: because September 9 was Osmeña Day, all lessons dealt with the life of the late President Sergio Osmeña Sr. This is a subordinate clause, which is adverbial. And now, the novelty lead. Some kinds of leads are best used in writing news features. They are written in such a way that they attract attention or carry out a definite purpose. Among these kinds of novelty leads are: first, astonisher lead. It uses an interjection or an exclamatory sentence. For example, champion of District 1. Better look your best this week. Contrast lead. It describes two extremes or opposites for emphasis. The sharper the contrast, the more effective the lead will be. 4 months before the beautification and cleanliness drive, Zone 15 in Tondo, Manila was the dirtiest district. 3 months after, it won first place in the Clean contest sponsored by the Department of Community and Local Government. Epigram lead. It opens by quoting a common expression, verse, or epigram, at least familiar in the locality. For example, like father, like son. Ramon Garcia Jr. graduated valedictorian this year. 10 years ago, his father, Mr. Ramon Garcia Sr., also topped his class and delivered his valedictory address on the same rostrum where the young Garcia delivered his. Picture lead. This describes a person, a place, or an event at the same time, creating a mental picture of the subject matter in the mind of the reader. The new principal, although only in his early 30s, is already silver-haired. He seldom talks, but when he does, he talks with sense. Background lead. This is similar to the picture lead, except that it describes the setting, which may be more prominent than the characters and the events. The PNU campus was turned into a miniature carnival ground on September 1 during the 104th Foundation Day celebration of the university. Decorated with buntings and multicolored lights, the quadrangle was a grand setting for a barrio fiesta. Descriptive lead. This is used when comparatively few descriptive words can vividly formulate an imagery. Dressed in white polo barong and with diplomas in their hands, 1,500 graduates marched down the stage to the tune of Osmeña High March. Parody lead. This consists of a parody of a well-known song, poem, or lines. Water, water everywhere, but no water to drink. This was what the flood victims found to their dismay. Punch lead. A short, forceful word or expression. It is rarely used. Victory Day. Magsaysay High School celebrated on March 18 its 5th victory in the city-wide journalism contests. One-word lead. This is self-explanatory. This is the example. March! Thus ordered Highway President Joey Lina Jr. of Osmeña High School to start the Walk for Health fundraising drive. Quotation lead. This consists of the speaker's direct words which are very striking and which are usually quoted from a speech, a public address, or an interview. The youth in the New Republic have become partners of the government in its struggle for progress and advancement. Thus spoke PNU Director Rene Romero to some 400 student delegates to the 2006 High YY Teens Leadership Training Seminar held on December 26 to 30 at the Edilberto Dagot Hall. Question lead. It is an answer to a question which is the basis of the news story. For example, who will reign as Miss Intramurals this year? This will be known on August 8 after the final screening to be held at the PNU Gym and Performing Arts Center. Are you ready to write your news story? What are the various types of news structure? Straight news story. A summary lead answers the most important W's depending on which of the W's is the most prominent among them. The body consists of the elaboration of the W's and the H. This is the inverted pyramid. The structure shows the following: elaboration of a W, elaboration of another W, elaboration of another W, and further elaboration. By the way, what is the inverted pyramid in news writing? The upper portion is the main point of the article, which contains the 4 W's plus the hook. It is the lead paragraph that contains the 5 W's and H. The middle portion is additional information or important information about the topic. And the last part is the less important details that can be cropped by the editor to fit in the newspaper without losing its meaning. News features should not be confused with feature articles or features, which are sometimes called special features sections in the newspapers or in magazines. Human interest in news feature stories are classified as news since both are gathered and written daily by reporters as their regular assignments. Furthermore, both emphasize the element of timeliness or immediacy which distinguishes news from other types of reading, although they differ in important respects from the straight news story. The single feature story. A single feature or one incident story, such as an account of a speech or interview or an election, deals with an isolated event. In writing a news feature story with this kind of structure, include the one feature in the lead and in the body details which clarify and explain the lead. The several feature, multi-angle or composite story. In a composite story, two or more divergent aspects of a news topic are drawn for the sake of space and coherence. In structure, the composite story may resemble that of a follow-up story in that both of them aim to consolidate component parts. However, they differ in the sense that the follow-up story ends in a tie-in with the past story, whereas the composite story is composed of units, each one made up of fresh spot news frequently with references to the future. Fact story. It is a plain exposition of a simple situation or of a series of closely related events which conform to the inverted pyramid design more closely than any other kind of news. The component parts of the series of facts that may be likened to rectangles of diminishing length, arranged one after the other in the order of their importance. The key to proper arrangement consists solely in judging the relative value of the data at hand in grouping them in their respective order. Action story. This is a narrative involving not merely simple facts but dramatic actions, incidents, description of persons, perhaps testimonies of witnesses, as well as explanatory data. In writing this kind of story, first, write a summarizing lead in any appropriate form. Relate the most important details in narrative or chronological form. Tell the story again, giving more details. But be careful not to begin the chronological order just after the beginning. Give sufficient attention to the elaboration of important information, background, and interpretation. Each unit must be closely interlocked. Speech report, quote, and interview stories. The arrangement of a speech report, a quote story, and of an interview are to a great extent similar. So as you can see the illustration at the right portion of the screen, it says lead summary, quote, then summary. The quote story may be charted as alternating large and small rectangles of diminishing sizes. Summary, quote, summary arrangement. The quotation may be direct, indirect, or a combination of both. In writing this kind of story, the following suggestions may be helpful. 1. Write a summarizing lead in any appropriate form. And 2. Write the body of the story in a summary, quote, summary arrangement. The lead may be a summarizing statement, the gist of the speech, statement, letter, or interview, or it may be the most important quotation in the story written as a direct quote. Advanced news, interpretative or interpretive reporting. Different authors give different views in regard to interpretative reporting. Let's read the following. Objective and interpretative reporting compared. Objective reporting is simply reporting the bones of the news, while interpretative reporting puts the facts in perspective. Objective reporting tells the reader exactly what occurred, while interpretative reporting tells the reader why and how it occurred. Objective reporting presents bare facts, while interpretative reporting explains and analyzes the facts. Advantages of objective reporting. 1. It saves the newspaper from possible trouble. 2. It offers no temptation for the reporter to express a controversial or objectionable view. Advantages of interpretative reporting. Previous setting, sequence, and above all significance of the news are given. And today's news is becoming increasingly technical. Therefore, the news must be clarified and interpreted if it is to become meaningful to the reader. Disadvantages of objective reporting. The inquisitive reader suddenly finds himself at loose ends over a developing story because he was never given a chance to know why something happened. Disadvantages of interpretative reporting. The reporter is exposed to many temptations. A biased reporter could use interpretation as an excuse to distract the news or to introduce deliberate bias. And the story tends to be very long. and what to interpret. Hard news should be given substance and interpretation in order to be interesting and be fully understood. Completing the accounts by giving factual background, eyewitness accounts, sidebars, localization, and explanation of the other side. Interpretation by way of mentioning causes and motives, significance, analysis, comparison, and forecast. Significance. If a barangay leader attends one function and boycotts another, there may be a significant repercussions. Causes and motives. The probing reporter keeps asking why. He seeks the news behind the news. He digs beneath the surface. Sidebars. In a disaster news, sidebars in the form of charts or tabulations are sometimes published together with the main news. Analysis. Complicated decrees, letters of instruction, or general orders must be analyzed and explained so that they could be understood. Forecast. Giving the news a tomorrow angle is often a form of interpretation. The reporter makes predictions, or he may see trouble ahead based on analysis. Now, how about depth news? Depth news is a kind of news feature that contains, aside from the essential facts attendant to a news story, background, interpretation, and analysis. It is not a news story in the traditional sense since it is not based on a timely event that answers the 5 W's and the H, but rather on timely topics of interest to the readers. Certainly, like any other kind of news story, it is based on facts and may answer any or all of the 5 W's and H. However, the emphasis is on the elaboration of 1 W, the why. In writing his story, the depth news reporter goes beyond the surface facts of the story and gives the readers detailed background information and interpretation based upon the facts and background of that story. The reporter also tells the story behind the story. He presents his facts objectively and as much as possible documents them with statistics, quotes, and sources. The real success of a depth news story lies upon the investigation the reporter has undertaken, the way he presents his facts, and the way he organizes and writes his story. The pointers used in writing news features also apply in writing depth news stories. The following are the qualifications of in-depth reporters. They are not necessarily in order as they are given, and these qualifications may overlap with each other. First, curious, inquisitive, investigative, analytical, in the service of the truth and nothing but the truth. Patient, persistent in reading up on his subject and in interviewing primary sources. Impartial, broad-minded, and objective. Honest, courteous, and likable. The writer can use any organization that is effective. His concern is getting the best lead and presenting his facts interestingly. The following are some suggestions for the writing of effective depth stories. Note the purpose and do not bury it. However, be prepared to alter any preconceived idea as you learn more about the topic. Write a lead with which you can live. It means you have to do your best in writing the lead. Note the important points that you must make. Talk to yourself until you are sure you have the important points in an order in which they will fall naturally. Find some ending. The copy desk may chop it off later, but it will help you write if you know where you are going. Write the ending if it will help. Check for the climax of the story. Make sure as you write that you do not allow your story to drag on after major points are made. Check for the dull spots. See if you have an anecdotal material that will brighten the dull spots and make good examples. Check for the places that are going to need transitions. In a complicated story, if you lose your reader for a lack of good transition, you might as well not have written it. So that is how we write the lead in the news story. For sample exercises and activities, send an email to the one that is in the description. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and share.